How are you, love? You look beautiful.
Oh my God, so do you. You're just like lighting up the room right now.
I'm so happy to see you. We have
Oh.
a few people hunted on already that are just so excited to hear you share your wisdom, your experiences, and this shift that we've been talking about. Just what your mission, and I want everyone to hear about it. So,
Yeah, can you hear me? Does it look okay?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys give us like thumbs up or let us know that you can hear us okay? There's a little bit of a playback.
Oh,
Do
there
you
is?
have another device, or are you trying to record anything? Because sometimes that creates playback on my end.
Oh, I don't have anything else on, but it's leaning against my
Computer?
computer.
Okay, that's probably what it is. So you're good now. Yay, we're getting thumbs up.
Okay.
We're good now.
Okay, good.
So let's start off by just giving everyone a little background about how your journey began to lead you to where you are now with this incredible purposeful mission.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it blurry just for me, or because you're a little blurry, but I don't know if I'm blurry?
You're not blurry for me. I'm not
Okay,
blurry
good.
for me, but is it blurry for anyone else?
No,
Okay,
okay, good.
cool. Okay, let's.
Okay, I'll just trust the spirits will handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's a really interesting journey because PR is kind of not really exposed in the spirituality world
Right.
or conscious world. It's very wellness, health, fitness focused, like that does exist. But when I stepped into it, I didn't know anything about PR. And I feel like my journey really started with an astrologer that told me back in the day that I would be representing people, that I would be merging the two worlds, and that I would be connecting. I would just be connecting conscious leaders to mainstream media. And you guys, that was like 7 years ago. And I had no idea what that meant.
Wow.
And I had like no ties to that. And this astrologer just like keeps talking. I'm writing. None of it is clicking until I moved from New York back to LA.
Mm-hmm.
And like, long story short, he even told me while I was at the PR firm, I used to work at Dunn Pellier Media with my former mentor and boss, Nicole Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you are going to literally, he's like, you're going to bring consciousness to mainstream media. And I was like, what? How am I supposed to do that?
I love it.
He was so spot on, and all I knew was wellness. Like, I worked with naturopathic doctors, I worked with New York Times bestsellers, and like slowly some of these spiritual teachers started trickling in, because I feel like when your soul is in alignment, the universe is going to send you what they feel like you're ready for.
Absolutely.
So that's, they came, and I started kind of like hearing a little bit, and I was like, oh, they're not actually the person that I'm going to be long term with, because I saw that there would be a mentor that was coming to me, and that I would help them spread their wisdom on a larger scale. And that's kind of like the vision I had. So once I heard Shaman Durek on a podcast, it was so clear to me that I needed to meet this man in person. And I had no idea who Shaman Durek was. I just knew that whatever he was speaking was landing so hard for me.
Yeah.
It was like, like when he speaks, it lands.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it landed, and I was able to meet him in person. And I created that opportunity again that was like guided by spirit. And then when I had my official session with him, it was like, hello.
Yeah.
Like, who's helping you? Who's helping you? Why isn't this out there? Like, the world needs to hear this. So then I stepped into that. I stepped into seeing how there's a lack of conscious messaging, but even further, the ancient teachings of like our ancestors. And a lot of people know about ayahuasca, but there's also like the sacred healing methods that Shaman Durek has brilliantly like simplified and modified so that the mainstream world can understand. So it's not just me, but it's him knowing how to simplify the practices that a lot of us have practiced or know to be these sacred healings and teachings from our ancestors.
Yes, he has a beautiful way of making it so attainable, you know, making it just to anyone. You can really grasp and understand it. And he has a way of explaining and speaking so that you feel like that is you. And that's so powerful. And I'm so grateful for you that you connected with what was in alignment with you and to your calling, even though you didn't know how, right? And I think that that's a big part of the message that you carry and that you show is that you trusted, and even if you don't know how, you still do, you know. And look what you've done, look what you've created, you know, you and Shaman Durek together. And beyond Shaman Durek, you are paving the way to show other people in your same space how you can do this and bring that higher consciousness to media so that you can, so that the entire world can see and have that visibility. So it was beautiful. I'm so grateful to you for that.
Oh, thank you.
And I just love having you here. And for those of you who are just joining on, you know, this is Tanya. She is an incredible, beautiful soul, and she's a publicist. And unlike, you know, any that you've probably been exposed to or met, because her passion is bridging that gap between what's going on with mainstream media now and building that higher consciousness. And again, she says it best. So she's going to talk about that a little bit more. But I just want to share with you that that's part of the reason why Tanya and I connected so instantly and so deeply on another level, is because of this awareness of what we need to do for the collective, you know, and for the higher consciousness. And so we're both so in alignment with that passion. Share some more, because I know that there are people that don't even understand, you know, about ancient practices, about shamanism, about what I mean, even though I explained it a lot, you know, about higher consciousness. So I would love for you to share, you know, your thoughts and explain that to people.
Yeah, it's really important to understand consciousness. We use it so much in the wellness community from like a quantum lens. Each of us are quantum creators, and we have the ability to create everything that we desire, and also transcend our frequency and our thoughts from like a low frequency vibe. And everything that we're plugged into right now, it's why we're so sensitized, is because we are quantum beings. We are not two-dimensional beings. We are taking in information. That's why I say conscious consumption is so important right now. And everything from like people's opinions to media articles to the news on TV to like political leaders and health experts, you know, we are quantum beings, so we're sensing quantumly all the time. And for those of us that are in more of like the intuitive psychic role, we are getting downloads and we're just streaming with new information on like what's going on a larger scale, like the evolution of humanity and what's happening. And what's so crazy, or not crazy, but like to have me as like a publicist, but also be tuned in and tapped into what's going on. It's a very interesting place to be. And I said this before on a video, is like, I'm like over here saying like, okay, mainstream media, there is such a stigma around it and how there's an agenda. And I'm not going to deny that there are agendas for certain news channels. Like if there's something that's hot and it is happening right now, they're going to do everything to cover that. So it's a very interesting place for me to be in. And I'm sure all the experts that are spreading high consciousness, love consciousness, and are leading with love and truth, you know, there's so much truth happening. There is. There's even a confusion there. But what I wanted to like really preface about media is there is a divide. There's definitely a divide. There are journalists that are telling me that there's biased writing. Like they cannot write outside of what the publisher or
Wow.
the owner wants them to write. So they have to stay within that parameter. So that's why I'm inviting everyone to think a little bit outside of the box. Like, this is where conventional thinking gets to be disrupted, is that there is a narrative that has to be fulfilled and there has to be an agenda. And at the same time, there's people like me in the media, and then I know there's people on the other side, so I cannot discredit everyone in the media that are like, hey, this isn't working, and we actually need these truth invokers. We need these inspirational leaders to come and kind of shake things up. Like, we need more. And so that curiosity is really there.
Right.
So I've worked with producers, I've worked with journalists, and there's some of them in the system that are like, this is not working, and they're almost working the system with me, and they're allowing that doorway to open because they know that we are in an ascension, and there's a deeper calling for curiosity around healing and transformation and our power. You know, we forget that the Matrix doesn't want us to remember our power and what we're capable of. So what do? They create scarcity, they create fear, they create disempowering narratives that completely disrupt our own frequency of love and creation and expansion. So when I see that, I'm like, okay, there's absolutely two sides to media right now. And I'm like telling people, like, hey, yes, there's parts of mainstream media that are corrupt, and it's like it's totally infiltrating your mind with scarcity and fear. And then at the same time, I know that we have to work within the system. We can't all exit our systems, our industries, without knowing that we also have to lead a legacy. Like, we have to be those disruptors, we have to be those change makers, and bring through the light, bring through the truth. And it may take some time, but you know, we're making those shifts, and that's the paradigm shift that I want to speak into, is that it's happening. It's happening on a small scale, but we're seeing literally, you guys, media and entertainment transform before our eyes. Shows are being canceled. Certain producers and media professionals are being furloughed or stepping down. So I, as a quantum thinker, like, none of this is an accident, and I'm seeing all of this happen in such beautiful timing, right?
Absolutely.
Like, here we are, everything's rising, we are having a disruption on our planet, and now the one system of like media and entertainment, there's a part of it that can no longer exist without it matching the ascension of like what's to come. So it's a wild ride.
It is, and it's beautiful, and I want people to kind of just let what Tanya said resonate with you. You know, just sit with her words, because they're so powerful and impactful, and it's so beyond just, okay, there's two media right now. You know, there's mainstream, there's conventional, but this is disrupting. But like, on another level, what does that mean? You know, and to find a lot of hope and faith in that truth, and know that, like, we're coming out of all of this. You know, that we will come out of all of this. So I think that people get confused, right? So, and it's easy to, because, as you said, there's so many different narratives going on, and part of conventional media is in place to confuse us in a way, and to lead us in a different direction. How can people discern, you know, when they're going through what they see on their phones or online or on television? Like, how can they discern what is something that they should be paying attention to, and what is something that is noise?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And I think about this for myself too, because we're in a high time of information being streamed through, and there's so many funnels that it's coming through. And from just speaking personally from like my own practices, I use intuition to really tap into what the message is. And then from like a media perspective, which this is really important, is to pay attention to headlines, because there are certain headlines that are created to construe a certain picture or story, and it's all in like the headline and wording that they use. So just allow yourself to be more of a person that's in discovery and not take everything at face value. There's opportunities for people to get more clicks on an article. Like there's so many ways to push certain things in news articles, and I've seen it happen on many, many different levels. And again, I'm not discrediting all of media. There's amazing journalists out there, but there are specific headlines created to push either an agenda or something that they know that their readers really love and grasp onto. So then they angle it in a certain way so that it catches people's attention.
So,
but I know, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say those are good tips and reminders for people, because I would say that those are some of the questions that came through before we got started. Was just there are people now that they're just not even looking at the news because it creates so much anxiety and fear and stress, and it's all very confusing. But then we have people in media like you, like Shaman Durek, like the people that you work with that are sharing information that needs to be seen and heard, right? So where can people go to look? Like, what would your recommendations be of, well, clearly Shaman Durek, of the different thought leaders, channels, where people can go to find that, and harness that?
So there's two things that I want people to focus on. One is, yes, 100% the fact that you guided us to see that intuitives and psychics and mystics are the ones that are really guiding us. Because I had the journalist come to me and even say that there is an uptick in going to intuitives and psychics because our health and our political leaders are failing us. So knowing that is happening, people are going, and I mean, like, they're like the crisis hotline right now.
I've been so busy. I mean, it's nonstop, ever since, which is I'm honored, and I'm grateful that people come for the healing work outside, beyond the nutrition, right, and beyond that. They come for the healing work. But you're 100% right. It's more now than ever that people are going towards light workers, and energy workers.
Their work on our planet is so important right now, and they have access to information. Like, I work with mediums, and I also, Shaman Durek is highly connected to what is to come and how to prepare us, and it is actually about preparation. So it's not so much to get stuck on what's happening now, and I'm even at fault for this at times, so I'm like speaking into myself and also the collective, is like to not be so stuck on what's happening now, and understand that whatever we do now is going to impact the next couple of months. So we really need to take care of our frequency. We need to take care of our temple and our container. So doing the work, getting into places like the Healing Temple with Shaman Durek, getting into sessions with mediums, and getting the information. But information is nothing unless you're prepared. So if we can become the warriors, right? Like these warriors that can be resilient and have this grace and strength to what is to come, but not be so stuck on like, oh my God, all this is happening right now. We're creating constriction. And that constriction on our planet is what's creating a lot of the dissonance. And we in order for us to ascend, we have to expand. So we have to expand ourselves and expand what we're doing on a conscious level and an energetic level. So it's an invitation for you guys to jump in and do that, like going out and going, meeting friends and drinking and all that is great. But like, what are you doing to rise, like literally rise the conversation? Are you getting together and coming together and creating some plan? Are you co-collaborating and conspiring together to elevate the planet? You know, what are we doing? All I see is cancel culture and people going back and forth on social media and telling each other how they're not doing something or how that they should be paying attention. Like the cancel culture doesn't work anymore. It's just that's the frequency that's going to disrupt what we're doing, moving from like this 3D constriction matrixy to like 5D.
And you know, and I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because that's something that I obviously share a lot here. It's just, you know, you're just always be the light. You know, so you're always doing things to elevate yourself, and that's energetically, right? Your frequency, but also in your physical body as well. You know, what are you doing to maintain this sovereign temple that's yours physically? You know, like be good to your body. It doesn't just keep your immune strong, but it keeps your frequency high, you know, and it keeps you elevated. And then to obviously also so many different practices, right? Like whether you are with Shaman Durek's healing temple or whatever it is that resonates with you, but to keep that vibration high, because it's more important now than ever, you know, and to always in every situation just try to channel the light and be the light in whatever situation or whatever industry that you are in. You know, right now we're talking about media, but I believe that what you've shared, people can take into any industry, right?
Yeah.
And
totally.
They can help that way. And so that's just something to remember for those of you that aren't in PR or media. You know, this is what Tanya is sharing, is something that you, no matter what your industry is in, you know, you can still do what she's saying and apply it to yourself and, you know, your surroundings, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad you touched on that. It's the system doesn't just lie in media. Like we have finance, we have legal, we have medical, and it's my vision and my hope that there are people that are infiltrating that system and leading from a high level leadership, you know, bringing in that conscious thinking and disrupting conventional thinking and inviting new frameworks of how to do the medical system or how to do the financial system. You know, like when you get to work with a conscious CPA that understands energy, or you get to work with a lawyer that wants to bring in like meditation and peace into prison reforms and also wants to merge spirituality. Like, this is what I'm talking about. We do not all need to completely leave every system that we're in because it's not in alignment. You know, we always say like, oh, it's not in my highest truth, but maybe it is. Maybe that is your truth. Maybe you are the lawyer, maybe you are the financial advisor that is now going to bring those two worlds together, because the truth is we need those.
Absolutely.
We just need people to step up in those systems.
Absolutely. I mean, people, I think, have a misconception that when you're bringing spirituality into your presence, when you bring it into your life, you have to go and be a healer, you know, or you have to go and now you're in the wellness spiritual. No, that's not what it means. It means bringing spirituality in with what is in your everyday life, in your practical life, so to speak, right? Let's just to use, you know, maybe lack of a better term, but it's just about bringing it into what you're already doing and enhancing and elevating that. You know, I mean, that's what I did with my practice. At first, it was just with nutrition and food and cooking, and then over the course of my journey, I realized spirituality was what was tying. That was what I needed to tie everything in together, and that's why you know, I can use food to work on the spiritual body and the energetic body and raise the frequency. So you can, everyone, you can do the same thing. You know what Tanya was describing that she's done, you know, in her career, you could do it, as she said, as a CPA. You know, you can merge it as a CPA or as any of these other industries. You know, just bringing that spirituality in to what you're doing.
Yeah, your spirit to connection is so important. And then most importantly, like emotional intelligence, that does fall under spirituality. So when I speak of, you know, bringing in this level of consciousness into the industry that you're in or the system that you're in, it's like we need those critical thinkers. We need those people that are expansively thinking, that can create new frameworks to up level humanity. You know, like I want to see, like I don't want to say that the whole medical system is corrupt. I want to know that there are people in there that truly wants to wake up the masses, that are following in line with the awakening, and that are going to invite new conversations, new technologies, new innovation. Like that is what we should be standing for, and not shaming and blaming and canceling everybody. And we are right now dismantling systems, which we can see a lot of it is like, hey, you haven't been in the highest of truth, and what you've been doing has actually been damaging, or not rising our human race. Then that's where you're seeing the shift, and people are having such a dissonance with it, because they're like, wait, no, but the medical experts, like, I believe everything that they're saying because science proves everything. But that's not the reality. The reality is there is a transcending right now, and in order for us to evolve as humanity, we have to build new frameworks. We have to create new paradigms. And that's what I'm seeing in media. Is like, yes, agenda, corruption, and at the same time there are people in there that are like, this is not working, and shows are being canceled. And if we're tapping into our higher guides, our ancestors, they're like, we cannot go this way anymore. So let's start disrupting.
And again, this is what everyone can be a part of, right? Like everyone can help with this. Everyone, where you feel connected, where you have a resonance for where there's a disruption, join in. That's what you can do. Like something that Tanya and I connected so deeply on was Operation Underground Railroad. That is something that needs massive disruption, and it's getting the support more now than it ever has. But that's just another space. But all around us, and to be a part of that, I think is, the main message here is just be a part of that disruption, right?
There's a miss too that I find in telling stories in media. Like there's so many modern day issues, there's so many social issues we're dealing with, but I'm seeing when specific things are being pushed more than others. Of course, we're not hearing about child trafficking as much. We're not getting as much coverage. There's a multitude reasons of why, right? And then we have a homelessness problem. Like, why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we addressing the underprivileged, the underserved communities? And I get that Black Lives Matter is so hot right now in the media, but that is the only thing that they're pushing. And then they're pushing anything that has to do with medical agendas. And I don't need to get into all that, but these are the questions that we have to be asking ourselves, is like, where are all the other social issues that are happening underneath the surface that need to be addressed and completely transformed? So I'm asking that question, and I keep finding those activists and those leaders that are like, we need to address this. And I bring up Lorea Gaston, who has such a beautiful connection to marginalized communities, and not addressing it from the place of that's them and that's me. Like, it's not us versus them, it's unifying. So if we can bring in more unification in our social issues and see how we can come together and expand a much higher level truth or conversation. She's unconventionally helping homelessness by offering organic based meals. Who would have thought that the one thing that's missing is serving them in the way that we love to be served? Like, why are we giving them the shitty end of the stick and giving them low nutrition grade foods? And why is wellness such a privilege? Why is wellness only for the elitist or the people that can afford these like really expensive, just out of reach practices? These practices should be available on a much lower level and be accessible. And that's what I've learned. I mean, I learned so much from my clients. I feel like I'm in training all the time.
But that's beautiful and amazing. And it's just remember, we can all learn from each other. Like, I'm learning, just going back and forth, I'm learning. And I hope that everyone here is, all the 300 or 400 of you here, learn. This is so powerful, and it's so true. Like, health happiness should not be, needs to be democratized. You know, it has to be accessible to everyone. And she's an amazing person. I mean, I have so much love, and I didn't realize she's one of your clients. I have so much love and respect for her. She's an incredible person. I mean, if there's other people that you represent that you want to share to this audience and let them know, you know, to follow their mission, to support them, feel free to share, you know, about any of these other people that are the thought leaders and activists and people that need more support and need more eyes and need more voices behind them.
Yeah, I'd say Larea is the biggest social activist that I know of right now. I mean, that girl lived on Skid Row for 43 days because she was divinely guided, and she got the guidance saying, like, you need to go be with these people. You need to experience what it's like to be in the mess of downtown LA and understand what their day-to-day is like. And it's just heart-wrenching. The clips that you see that she got while she was there, she created a documentary, 43 days in Skid Row or in their shoes, something like that. And the things that you see, it's very much there. You know, they are struggling, but they're also connecting, like their connection, they're dialed in as much as we are, because that's all they have, you know. And it's so beautiful to see that someone like her, you know, she's not treating them like they're a separate community. And I've also learned that kindness and giving is so conditional. Like, it doesn't take a lot to show up every day. And how we show up for people that are being just not acknowledged, you know, like how many times a day do you walk by a homeless person or someone that you're quote unquote not resonating with and completely disregard them as a human? Like, that's the inhumanity in so many areas right now that I am experiencing is so real. And I'd love for that to be a conversation. I'd love for that to be like talked about in the media.
No, I absolutely agree. It's just, and it's a reminder. It's something that I'm constantly reminding on. That's why we did the love note thing when the pandemic first started. It's just kindness. Kindness transcends so much. You know, that love and kindness, it doesn't cost us anything. And you know, I feel like in the moments that you might even hesitate, that's when you need to step up. You know, anytime that there's discomfort, you know, when there's discomfort, that's a place that your soul is telling you need to look into, and you should actually dive into that a little bit. And that's exactly Strong and Derek. You're gonna show up no matter what.
Right at the right time.
And that's what we're saying. You know, show up with love, show up with your heart. You know, show up with kindness, and it just it's transforming. You know, even if you don't know or understand spirituality, or if you're having a hard time understanding what we're talking about right now with ascension and what's transcending higher consciousness, at its very base, it's really about show up with love. You know, show up with love as much as you can. You know, be that light. If you don't know what be that light means, it just means be love. You know, it just means be love.
You love God, you'll serve God. Very simple. Yeah, service is also a thing that I'm really passionate about. Is that the question that I invite everyone to think about is to connect why they're in their specific service right now. You know, like, you could be a cashier at a grocery store, you could be a lawyer, you could be a legal secretary. There's absolutely a divine purpose of why you're in that specific service. And I think everyone is always wanting to search out there for their purpose, like their one thing. But again, we're quantum beings, so we don't have that one thing. And I always invite people to look at, to make that connection, like, what is that service serving right now? What is that purpose? Because we're all being lined up so divinely and so intentionally. When you're in service, you're in flow, and when you're trying to take because you're afraid, you block the flow. I feel like it's like a rhyme. Like, we're all being positioned in a certain way because we're meeting that person or having that conversation. It's like we're all making our way into adding to this mass awakening, to this ascension. Like
Absolutely.
we each have a role in this.
100%.
So it's not just like one person or that leader. It's like we all have to take on that responsibility. And then if you're not, just look out where you're not taking that responsibility, because that is just I feel like everyone's just like waiting for someone else to do this job or to lead. But we really have to take responsibility for the role that we're in right now. Even if you're a mother or a father, like all of those roles have a purpose right now.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You're here for a purpose, you know? So just your soul has a purpose. And so I love that you highlighted that, because I think that people have that kind of confusion, like what is the point of this? What am I doing this for? But you have a purpose. And so just to dive in deeper, and the purpose always comes from like, who am I serving? How am I serving? Right? And that leads you there. And I love that Shaman Durek is on putting his wisdom, adding his wisdom in. Ascension is the awareness of liberation.
Feeling the strong.
Yes. Yes, I love it. Good. Thank you, Shaman Durek. I love it. This has been such a beautiful conversation, Tanya. I so appreciate your magic and your love and you sharing everything that your experiences. You know, I think it's so important for people to hear from leaders like yourself, you know, and those and I would say it's everyone, you know. People come to me because they feel that I have a large platform, but all of us have voices. We all have our own communities. We all have our own tribes and our own pods, and the size doesn't matter, you guys. You know, take what you learn, take what you know, and spread it to the people around you. That is the most important thing, and we each have the opportunity to take the space that we create around us, right, and make the most out of it, and to use that space to serve and to give love and kindness, and to just remember that we are all connected. So so it's just magical, you know.
It's all about that impact, Serena.
I mean, just so, and I can't wait to, yes, you have an amazing conversation. Yes, it is. This is just, you know, I hope you guys can all feel what I'm feeling right now, because I'm vibrating right now.
I know, I'm buzzing. I'm like, let's
so
go.
Buzzy. So is there anything else that you want to add? You know, we talked about so many things, but I did get messages here. Yes, we save all our lives. You know, they'll go up onto Facebook and we'll have messages about it. So this live will definitely be saved. I'll make announcements, check stories. We usually clean it up, and so the audio is a little bit better for you guys once we post it later. But it'll all be
amazing.
And Tanya, let everyone know where they can find you and follow all your messaging and just all your stories, and anyone else that you think that people, obviously we've talked about, you know, a few people today, but anyone else that you think that people should follow, and any other platforms that you feel that would be really helpful for people who are trying to connect.
I want to leave people, because I definitely get intuitively, and it just came through, that there's a lot of experts out there that are pushing their messaging and their content through. And I know people pitch producers and really wants to be like the face of media and be the leaders. And I want to leave this one short story of when I went to Good Morning America with the book Spirit Hacking, and like the first response I got was that spirit hacking is too out there. It's so funny when I heard that, because I'm like, wow, okay, this is where they stand on this. This is where Good Morning America is, specifically this producer. And it didn't stop me. Like, I heard them shut it down. Like, I got so many shutdowns and no's. It didn't stop me from going back and approaching them, because as we are creating new paradigms, then there's openings and possibilities for these types of messagings and these practices and these methodologies to be heard in the mainstream news. So look, we're now in a pandemic, and there are questions, curiosity everywhere, and people feel very confused and lost. There's a deep need for answers.
Yes.
So when I go back to the same outlet, but now a different producer, it's like now they hear spirit hacking, shamanism, this like ancient teaching in a very new lens.
Yeah.
And now it's acceptable because now we're in a space where there's a calling for it. So there is a timing for everything. Mm-hmm. So if you are approaching, if you're the one that's approaching and pitching yourself to media, mm-hmm. don't give up.
Yep.
Be persistent, and also be listening to what's going on out here in the collective, and be wary of where your message and your story will be most served. Mm-hmm. 100% everyone's story deserves to be heard, but there's a timing for everything. And I know there's a lot of publicists that aim to make it happen right away. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned in my practice is there is divine intuitive timing for everything, and spirit has a plan. So you really have to trust that. Mm-hmm. And the pace that you may want something may not show up right away in your field, but keep planting those seeds. Those seeds will come back and build the relationships. I cannot express this enough. The relationships are so necessary right now. Allow yourself to be seen, allow yourself to be heard. You know, like this is a relationship where exchanging energy, and who knows who's going to expand from this. Yeah. Like that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing on an evolutionary level. So just keep going at it. It's happening.
Yes, that was such a powerful message, such a powerful reminder, and I'm so glad you shared that. Before we got off, that spoke to me, you guys, and I can tell from all these emojis, you know, and these hearts that it spoke to others as well. So such a good reminder. This was magical. I really loved having you on, and thank you so much for creating this space. Thank you so much for what you're doing, you know, the powerful work that you're doing, and to show others, you know, how we're going to get there. So
my pleasure. I just want to share my reflection of you, Serena, is like, you come from such a heart space, and just in like the interim of getting this live set up, I've never felt so much infusion of love and grace all at once. Like everything that you emanate out is so felt. Like everything that you project forward is so felt. So your magic and your power is really the energy that you project, even through messaging. Like that's such a gift to feel someone energetically and their vibration through message. That just tells me where you're at and how you show up in the world. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And that just means a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your beautiful words.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, you guys. I'm gonna let you guys go now. That was Tanya and I can talk forever. And
yeah, we can.
And you know, I want you guys to really just think about everything that you heard today. It was so powerful. And we're going to have more powerful people that are going to speak along these same lines. Stay tuned. You know?
Yep.
And stay tuned on my stories, because once we have everything edited and cleaned up, I'll announce it. You can go and watch the replays, and go follow Tanya, because she's just doing magical work and working with some incredible people. And I'm so grateful to call you a friend. So thank you so much, my love. And then
thank you.
I will see you guys all soon. I'll see you guys next week. And message me if there's any other questions. I didn't see anything more pop up here, but if you have any other questions, send them to me and I'll pass them off to Tanya, or send them straight to Tanya. I know that she'll be happy to answer them.
Yes, send them.
Okay. All right. Bye, love.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for staying on.